Okay, what you're listening to and what you're looking at is my Norns shield. It's a shield, which means it's kind of the slightly cheaper version than buying the. Sorry, I'm just positioning it. Than buying the full version. It's fantastic. There are loads of independent makers. Schematics are online and so on, and you can buy the parts and then build your own. I think it's a fantastic device, and I cannot say that I'm even expert at any level with it. But there are a series of apps, and this app is Awake. And it's basically two step sequences. You've got the upper and lower step sequences, and these the lower step sequencer influences the upper step sequencer by applying transposition amounts to the pitches that you've already set. So it's kind of a bit like applying sort of additional CV offsets to CV signals and so on. So that bit is absolutely amazing. And you can bounce between both upper and lower sequences by pressing the button here. You can see the cursor's jumped up to the top there, and so on. And we position the cursor. It's a bit like playing Pong. So you position the cursor, and then you use the other knob to essentially introduce a pitch, like here. Or alter an existing pitch. So that's one page of parameters. It's the loop parameter. So the upper loop can be specified from anywhere from 1 step to 16. Likewise, you can do the same with the lower one. So at the moment, both of them coincide. They're both 8 steps long. But if I alter the lower loop by 1, we now get a lot more sort of non-coincident kind of sequencing here, because the sort of phase alignment in terms of where they are synchronized together, they now have a phasing relationship between the upper and lower, and this sort of maximizes the number of melodic possibilities of a limited kind of sequenced pitch set. So you get this illusion of this kind of descending figuration. You can just hear it. It's cyclical. It's still there, and because of the phasing relationship between the upper and lower, you still sort of hear evidence of the original sequence, because obviously the lower sequence part is quite sparse. There are only 2 pitches sort of set in there. So that's the loop page. The next page that you get is the sound page. Oh, I've gone past one too many. Here, the left rotary knob controls the cut, and the top one. So the left one does that for the cut, and this other one does gain. It's kind of an okay kind of level. And then finally you get some options. We can change the tempo, we can change the root key, and then after that, if you do a quick press on the knob there, you end up with a number of parameters. At the moment this is on an internal clock, but we won't worry about that right now. But here you can alter a whole host of parameters. So you can see it gives you quite a lot in the beginning. So here we can say what the step resolution is. I'm not sure you can see it as clearly as possible, but whenever you're on the whichever parameter you're on, you'll see it sort of lightens up. It gets a little bit more intense. That's 12s. That's 8s or 6. Quarter notes. And of course you also get to alter sort of things like how long the note is. It's a little bit more difficult to kind of detect this, especially when the notes are so sort of sparsely placed together in terms of quarter notes, but we'll come back to that. You can choose the different sorts of scale route. So that's as a major, natural minor, and so on. So it's Dorian mode, which is the one that it usually boots up in. I spent a bit too long in Dorian using the shield, so I thought I'd start off in Lydian mode. Probability is really good. I'll go back up and change the resolution. So 95% probability of firing. And again, it's another way of kind of injecting variation. So I'm going to do something a bit more radical, 50%. So yeah, I mean, you can be quite radical. 25% probability, hardly anything. All of these are kind of performable. I mean, one of the things you can do is to actually, leave it running, record the outputs, and actually just run through a lot of the parameters. So you've got the kind of the pulse width, which offers a bit more tonal variation. It's a bit more obvious with the filter. Up. Let me bring it back up. So it's quite a long release now, so you can hear the full length of well, not the full, but close-ish. So I've got it on quite a plucky type relationship. So we've got all of those things. I'm going to return this back down to about 800. Just gives a bit more definition. You can hear the bounce off of the delay, and so here we are. So you can alter the. So you've got the level of the delay. So you have that. We can also do the delay rate, and this sort of works just like all kind of classic delays. You get that little spray as it shifts time basis. So you get all of the pitch artifacts. It's kind of really nice. Again, I've not got a ton of feedback on there, but you can make it a wash if you want to. Again, if you want to hear the notes and you want to hear the definition, then then go for that. I mean, this is the next section that I find really interesting, really. Like here, you get a little bit more control over the parameters for the upper and lower sequences. So at the moment here, so you can see in the brackets 1, and then the length is set to 8 steps. But the interesting things sort of come about when you... Sorry, I moved the wrong one. That's what happens in... I'm looking at the camera, I'm not looking at the device, or I'm looking at the screen as a matter of fact. But anyway, so you can sort of specify a different start point. So at the moment the start point is 1, right? So step 1. So we can move this along. Let's do step 2. Let me go down and alter the second sequencer length so that it's not in 7s, that they're both in 8s, so they correspond with each other. It's quite difficult to hear change when you're having to deal with something that's constantly changing. So you can hear that, right? So to me, like, right, I sort of hear the two main figures. There's a there's that kind of figure, and then there's the more sort of scale type. So where the two numbers are adjacent and correspond with each other. Anyone who loves Steve Reich will recognize some of these figures. I just think it's fantastic. And again, you're sort of finding the sweet spots, the numbers that kind of really create the most kind of influence. Now, I don't really think that it's, well, certainly not with my fat fingers, but I just don't think that it's as performance orientated that you can just adjust these at the flick of a switch. You can refine your sort of movements, and that's totally cool. But what you can do is if you just leave your DAW in record and just record the outputs and allow enough of the pattern to establish itself, and then just keep moving through all of the different items, kind of collecting melodic figures, and then actually stitch them together so they become more of a cohesive piece. Oh, that's 8. Seven. So sometimes when you skip, and if you're not bothered about timing, a bit like me, arriving on the beat right now. There's a little bit of travel in the pots. You can just kind of give them a bit of energy, and they feel like they'll just kind of slide to their position. I hope. I'm not entirely sure it's actually sort of trustworthy, but it kind of does for this. So let's try. So I'll return that one to 2. Sorry. We'll start on 2. We'll take one of the other items. Let's say that we set the start as 5. So the figure is going to start at 5 now. So this is 5. So 5 at the moment is playing scale degree 6. So that's playing. You can hear where it is now. Bum, 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 bum. So you can hear that. mean, any kind of overshoots, I sort of think there's always a kind of a thing in, you know, in playing sessions. If you play a mistake, play it twice, make them think that you meant it. So, you know, in many ways, if you kind of overshoot a number or a step value that you want, you should probably, in many ways, just kind of go with the flow and just allow it to kind of be. Okay, so we're going to finish there. There'll be more of this, but I just thought it would be a good thing for a Saturday morning. Okay. Remember, if you like this and you like my other stuff as well, remember to like and subscribe.